The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I, of course, am your Commander-in-Chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Earlier today, the Commanders signed wide receiver Michael Gallup, added him to the wide receiver room, giving us 6 possible guys to make the football team. It kind of feels like they're done at the receiver position, at least for now. But I talked about how that could alter some of the plans moving forward for the draft. It's just another opportunity for the Commanders to add a body to the roster to minimize the need or the need to feel like they have to do something in the draft. I really want to take a deep dive into the roster itself, the depth chart in particular. I really feel like when you see it, I mean, we could talk about it. We've talked about this a couple of times on various programs, but seeing it, I think visualizing it is one thing. Actually seeing the names go into specific spots and looking at the roster overall will give you a better picture of where we are. And so I think there's an opportunity to do that now. So I want to take that opportunity to do that right now. So let's take a look at the roster, kind of look at the depth chart, and let's give it a look-see. So obviously everything's subject to change, right? We don't even know what the offensive line is going to look like when it's all said and done, because we don't know where Brandon Coleman is ultimately going to be. Is he going to be at left guard? Is he going to be at right tackle? So, you know, there's certain things we don't know. We're just going to project, right? And ultimately, it could go one of two ways. Hold on one second, y'all. So let's start to try to put things in the order in which we think they should go. Again, there's still things that need to take place: draft, post-draft free agency, etc. We'll get clarity as we get closer to the start of the regular season, we get closer to training camp, etc. But for now, I mean, they've done a ton of work to this roster in just over a week and a half, right? Literally, the start of free agency was last Wednesday. And in just 9 days, we've gone from questions about this, that, and the third to, all right, we kind of see the roster taking shape, have an idea of what it's going to look like with still a few, spots needing to be filled. So with that said, let's start with the offensive side of the football. And you see, they filled in some of the spots already because I pulled this straight off of the team website. So as guys were either free agents, they took all of the free agents off, and only the ones that had been re-signed at the time, they either left them up here or put them back on. But a number of guys aren't here, so we'll just fill in the gaps ourselves. So quarterback, obviously you have Jaden Daniels. They brought back Marcus Mariota. So let's go ahead and put Marcus here in the second spot. For now, we're going to put Sam Hartman in the third spot. Even though they could bring back Jeff Driscoll, I would not be shocked if they brought Jeff Driscoll back. All right, so you got your quarterbacks. Let me move them down one slot. So you got your quarterbacks in Sam Hartman, and they're going to keep 3 quarterbacks. I feel confident in saying that, right? All right, so now let's go to running back. They already have Brian Robinson Jr. Contrary to popular belief, Brian Robinson Jr. is our starting running back still. And after they draft someone, he will still be our starting running back. Contrary to popular belief. Okay. Now, I can't tell you that Brian Robinson Jr. will be our starting running back come week 9. But week 1 of the regular season, Brian Robinson Jr. will be our starting running back. So he's already in his proper slot. Let's go ahead and add in Austin Eckler. They took him out. Why? I don't know why they took Eck out. Let's go ahead and add Eck in because he was already under contract. So they could have just left him where he was. They got Chris Rodriguez Jr. As the third back. I don't think that's where he resides. I think that's Jeremy McNichols for now. And then Rodriguez would be 4th, right? That's how I see that playing out. Obviously, we feel like we need to draft a dynamic back. I still think that's going to occur, and that would complete that running back room, right? So now we can go to the receiver position. They have Luke McCaffrey here as a starter. We all know that is not the case. So we will take Deebo Samuel, and we will put him here opposite of Terry. Or hell, you could even put him here. Let's just put him here, right? And on the outside here, we will put Noah Brown. So those will be your 3 receivers. Let's assume that KJ Osborne will be here. We'll have him backing up Noah Brown. Trying to think if he did a lot of work in the slot when he was with the Vikings. I believe so. Let's have Gallup is more of a Z. So we'll have him backing up Noah Brown. We'll have KJ inside. So we'll just throw him here. This really doesn't matter. This is semantics, but throw him here. And then we'll throw Luke behind Terry. All right. So those are your 6 receivers. You have your tight end group. They've already got it nailed down with the 3 guys there. And if you wanted to throw in a 4th, Colson Yankoff would be your 4th guy. If they decide to keep 4 tight ends, they kept 4 last year. So the assumption is they're going to keep 4 again. No reason to think that they wouldn't. They already did it before, right? So let's go on to the offensive line. And this is where things get a little tricky, right? Little tricky. So here's what we do know. Laramie Tunzel is going to be your starting left tackle. That we do know, right? That we do know. So let's put him there. Matter of fact, let's do that. So now you got Laramie Tunzel at left tackle. For the sake of this argument, we are going to put Brandon Coleman We're going to put Brandon Coleman at left guard for the sake of this discussion. I'm going to put him at left guard. All right. Biotis is your center. Cosme is your right guard. Obviously, he won't be. I can't say that. I'm still holding out hope he's going to be healthy for week 1. So this could go one of 2 ways. Coleman could be at right tackle, and it really doesn't change much. Wiley would then go to the bench. If Cosme, so let's just say this. If Cosme is ready week 1, I think Coleman goes straight to guard. If Cosme is not ready, excuse me, I could see a scenario where Coleman goes to tackle while he kicks in the guard. I wouldn't do that. Like, you want guys playing the position you're going to have them at. So if you're going to play Brandon Coleman at left guard, then you don't need to be screwing around with him at right tackle or right guard or wherever else he isn't going to be. If he's going to be your left guard, you put him there and you let him get reps next to Laramie Tunzel, right? You can do whatever you want to do at right guard. If you want Wiley to stay at right tackle, if you want to put Nick Allegretti at right guard, he can play right guard. So again, wherever Coleman's going to be, that's where he needs to be, and they don't need to move him at all. So if he's going to be a right tackle, we'll put him at right tackle. I think they're going to put him at left guard. I think they're going to keep Andrew Wiley at right tackle for now. So All right. So you got your starting offensive line. Allegretti is now a primary backup in this scenario. Let's say he's the first backup here behind Brandon Coleman at left guard because he was just the starter. They just brought in Nate Herbig. So we'll insert him. And you know what's crazy is we just want to push Michael Dieter out of here. I'm not sure that they're going to push Michael Dieter out of here. So I wouldn't be so quick to dismiss Michael Dieter just because we got Nate Herbig now. So I'm going to put Michael Dieter as our backup center. I know you don't love it, but those two, I really think those two are battling for one spot. Would they keep two centers? Right? Dieter can play both guard positions and center, all three interior spots. So can Nate Herbig. So that's not an issue. Are they going to keep both of them? I doubt it. One of them may ultimately end up on the practice squad, but if you cut them, you could lose them. That's the risk you take. I don't think they're worried about losing either one of those guys, but they're going to keep the one that they feel like best suits the team. So hold on a second. Felt like I did one for Nate. I may not have. If I didn't, I'm going to do one for him now. No, I didn't. So let me do a Nate Herbig real quick. I'm going to put him at the other guard position. And I thought I did that. I just got to find him. I know I did one for him. There he is. He was hiding from me. There he is. All right. So I'm going to put him here. Because I think Chris Paul is now the odd man out. They did not bring Chris Paul here. They inherited him. And I don't think they're tied to Chris Paul at all. So I don't assume he's going to be here. So now the question becomes, who's your swing tackle? Now, we know they love Trent Scott. And I say love because we'll put him behind here. Because Trent Scott can literally play 4 out of the 5 positions on the offensive line. And he played a lot of tight end for us when we went to our jumbo package last year. So he's already carved out a niche for himself offensively, has Trent Scott. So for all intents and purposes, he feels like he's going to be on this roster. The guy that I don't think is going to ultimately make the roster is Foster Sorrell. But for now, we're going to insert him here as the backup tackle and assume he's going to be your swing tackle. But I don't think he's ultimately going to make this roster. It's Foster Sorrell. He feels camp body-ish to me right now. But that's what we'll go with for now. Out of this group, you're going to get all of your backups. Like, I don't think we're going to find another guy out on the streets or in the draft that's going to come in here and be a part of this mix. What we have now is what we're going to roll into week 1 with, more likely than not. That's how it feels on the offensive line. They just got to figure out where all of it fits. including Brandon Coleman and Andrew Wiley. And, what does it mean for Nick Allegretti if Allegretti isn't starting anymore? Or what does it mean for Wiley if he's not starting anymore? Does Wiley turn into your swing tackle? They just got to figure out how all these pieces fit together, right? That's what it feels like to me. Is Nate Herbig your primary backup at guards, at both guard positions, or is he your primary backup at center and he can play guard as well? And now Dieter gets kicked out of the mix. Or is Dieter still your primary backup center, can play both guard positions, but you got Allegretti on the bench now, so you don't need Dieter to do that. You just need him to play center, right? Allegretti can also play center. He did it in Kansas City as well. So they got to figure all of this shit out. But this is why you just keep throwing darts at the board. You got a bunch of darts now. You just got to figure out which ones you're going to continue to use, right? So they'll figure all that out, but it's good to have options. I like options. You know that. So that's where I kind of feel like we are right now. So that's the offense, right? That's the offense. As of right now, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 3, 4, 5, 6. 26 offensive players. That's not a bad number. Then you would need 24 defensive players, and then you would have 3 specialists. We're not that far off. All right. We're not that far off with this group of guys that we have here. We're not that far off. All right. So now we're going to get rid of all these names. And we're going to go to the defensive depth chart. All right. Let's see what we have over here. So let's start at defensive end. As you can see, defensive end opposite of Dorrance Armstrong is blank because Cleveland Farrell was our starter last year. He was a free agent. They didn't know if he was going to be back or not. Well, Clee is back. So let's put Clee here opposite of Dorrance for now, because we got a lot to sort through here. A lot of defensive linemen. They went OC on the defensive side of football. So I don't think Cleveland Farrell is starting this year, but you never know. Feel like Clee is going to be more so here, right? So let's get a cover here. And cover this up. All right. So Clee feels like he's a backup now. And that starting spot opposite of, I can't speak for y'all. This feels like Dietrich Wise right now. If you ask me who was starting, if we had a game tomorrow, I think Dietrich Wise would be your starting defensive end opposite of Dorrance Armstrong. That's how I feel right now. Cleveland Farrell will be backing him up. Backing up Dorrance Armstrong is going to be Jacob Martin. right, as your situational pass rusher. And then ooh, I just thought about something. We got too many damn defensive ends. So I actually think Javon Kinlaw is going to start at defensive end. Am I crazy for thinking he's going to start at defensive end? He even said he's going to lose some weight. He thought he was too heavy last year, taking on double teams and things of that nature. All right, I'm just going to do the chalk thing right now. I'm just going to make Javon Kinlaw a defensive tackle. I actually think he can start at defensive end. But I'm gonna do the chalk thing, and I'm just gonna leave him at defensive tackle for now. Okay. I actually think Javon Kinlaw is gonna start at defensive end. But like I said, I'm gonna do the conventional thing and just leave him at D tackle for now. But I actually think he could be the starting defensive end opposite of Dorrance Armstrong. So we'll leave him as a defensive tackle for now. And we'll put Dietrich Wise as your starting defensive end. They brought back Jalen Holmes. They like him. I like Jalen Holmes too. And the thing that is very noticeable right now for this team is they want interchangeable parts. They want guys that can be multiple, meaning they want guys that can play up and down the defensive line. Like Jalen Holmes can play defensive end or defensive tackle. Dietrich Wise can kick inside and play defensive end or defensive tackle. Both of those guys are like 280 pounds. Dietrich Wise is, Jalen Holmes is. We've seen Dorrance at his best, to me, during the playoff run, was kicking inside and getting pressure at defensive tackle as a 3-tech. So they want guys that can move around the line. At times, we saw Deron Payne playing defensive end for us last year, which leads me to believe that they're going to move Javon Kinlaw outside. That's what I think. So Javonte, also a defensive end. That's 6 defensive ends. And this is assuming that Javon Kinlaw is not a defensive end. Okay. That's 6 defensive ends. All right. So I don't have, if Javon Kinlaw is not, because Javon Kinlaw is starting. You're not paying him $15 million a year to come off the bench. He's starting. So if you don't have him at defensive end, then you got him at defensive tackle, which is where I have him. So Kinlaw next to Payne, Dorrance Armstrong, Dietrich Wise. That's your defensive line. If he's not starting, which I don't have him starting, Jerzon Newton is your primary backup. He's the first guy off the bench at defensive tackle. Assuming that he does not start. Obviously, Eddie Goldman is going to be paired with him coming off the bench. Gives you a nice solid rotation. And then you still have Sheldon Day if you need to go any deeper into the defensive tackle position. So we got a lot of defensive linemen is what I'm telling you. All right. So I almost want to eradicate this entire position. We don't have 2 outside linebackers in this defense. We pretty much play a 4-2-5 alignment, right? 4 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, 5 defensive backs. Sometimes we'll have 5 defensive linemen, 1 backer, and when we go to that front, you still probably have Frankie Louvu on the field. He's just now like almost in a 3-4 alignment where you have the 2 backers on the outsides. But, excuse me, Frankie's standing up on the outside, and you still have your 1 linebacker, and they'll bring it down another safety to act as a linebacker in that alignment. But rarely are you going to see us in a base 4-3 look unless we're playing against a team that allows us to get into that. So for all intents and purposes, all your linebackers are going to be crammed into these 2 spots here, right? So we'll just, for the sake of this discussion, we'll just leave this absolutely blank. We don't need this position because all of our linebackers are going to be in this middle linebacker and other outside linebacker spot right here. All of our linebackers can fit right in here, right? If that makes sense. So they already got 3 of our guys situated right where they need to be. Wagner and Louvu are your 2 starters. McGee's going to back up Bobby and be your primary guy. And in situations where we do get 3 linebackers on the field, Jordan McGee would be the other linebacker, right? So let's take a look at the linebacker position. Dominique Hampton is going to get the nod this year. He's going to be the other outside backer in this defense. They're going to take that red shirt off of him and give him an opportunity to show what he can do. And then you still have Nick Ballore, core special teamer, as your 5th linebacker, and that's it. We won't be carrying a 6th linebacker. That was the setup last year. You just take out Dominique Hampton, insert Michael Walker, and that was your setup last year. I don't see that changing this year, right? Cornerbacks. So obviously this is where things get interesting. You got Marshawn already listed. Perfect. You got Mikey listed. Perfect. Question is Mikey inside, Mikey outside? Right now, I don't think it matters. For the sake of this argument, inside, outside doesn't matter because he's on the field. That's all that matters right now. So right now, Jonathan Jones feels like the other guy that's going to be on the field right now until otherwise notified. Now, again, here's what we don't know. Is Jonathan Jones going to be inside or outside? Is Mikey Sanger still going to be inside or outside? We don't know. But what we do know is both of those guys are right now, if we were playing a game tomorrow, would be on the field in some capacity, starting with the defense. Now, inside, outside, they'd have to figure it out. But those are your 3 starting corners right there, right? Backing them up right now on the roster is Noah Igbenogany. And again, doesn't matter where you put him. You put him here, you put him there. He's your primary backup. Here's the issue we have. We have no one backing up Marshawn Lattimore right now. Like, Noah Igbenogany is the one guy that's backing up pretty much all 3 of these guys, but you do not truly have another guy. This is where you insert any Bobby Price joke that you have. Insert here, right? They seem to love Kayvon Seymour. I'm not putting him behind Marshawn Lattimore because that's disrespectful to Marshawn Lattimore. So we'll put Kayvon Seymour here for now as a placeholder. But if you wanted to be an asshole, which I see no reason for us not to be an asshole here, you just remove him from the equation and you say, all right, we got to add at least one more corner to this mix. And that's what this exercise for me is all about, is showing where we need to add a player. This right here shows that we need to add another corner, which is not a secret. We all knew this, but now you can see it. You got Marshawn Lattimore, Jonathan Jones, Mike Samer still all on the field. Noah Igbenogany is your primary backup to Jones and Samer still, right? More so, Igbenogany, I think, has earned the right to be in the mix as a nickel. So Jonathan Jones, we were told, played better in New England inside than he did outside. So let's assume that Mike Samer still is staying outside for now. I think the goal has been to kick him inside, but they don't have a guy right now. I mean, they could put Jonathan Jones outside, but right now it feels like Samer still is going to stay outside. Jones is going to go inside, and Igbenogany would be backing up Jones inside. We don't have any backups to the boundary corners. So this is a position of need going into the draft, right? We got 800 defensive ends, right? This is still a position of need, is defensive end. Because as you look at this list, 1 year deal, 1 year deal, 1 year deal, 1 year deal. So 4 out of your 6 defensive ends are on 1 year contracts. They will not be here next year. And you'll be doing this whole song and dance again next year. So you probably would be in your best, and it would probably be in your best interest to just go ahead and draft a guy. We'll see if they decide to do that or not. We feel like it's a need. They may not feel like it's a need. You got 6. We're staring at 6 defensive ends right now. They may not feel like it's a need at all right now. So again, this allows you, but this is what I've been saying. The fact that they have all these defensive ends, the fact that they have all those receivers now, right? It allows you to not have to do anything. You don't have to take a defensive end in the first or the second round. You don't have to take a wide receiver in the first or the second round. You do not have to take a cornerback. Right now, as it stands, you've got 4 cornerbacks. You're technically you're good if everybody stays healthy now. That's a big if, especially when you're talking Marshawn Lattimore. But technically speaking, you got 4 corners. If they love Bobby Price or Kayvon Seymour, you got 5 corners. They waited for this man to come off a suspension to give him his roster spot back last year. So clearly, and then brought him back again on another 1 year deal this season. So clearly they like Kayvon Seymour. So again, don't just dismiss him. They did bring him back again. So they may look at this situation and say, oh, no, we're good. We got 5 corners. We got 6 defensive ends. We got 6 receivers. No, we're good. Right? We just can take the best player available. If that's a tight end, we'll take him. And that's what we want. That's what we've advocated. You can't ask for something, then get it, and then be disappointed, right? It's the same shit that happened this offseason. Everyone asked to stop the run and beef up the trenches. They did it, and then you got all bent out of shape. Now, I have said that I thought they went too far. Like, it's almost like an overcorrection. So much emphasis is being put on stopping the run that we didn't put enough emphasis, in my estimation, on getting to the quarterback. There needed to be some sort of balance there, and it doesn't feel like there's any balance. We're going to stop the run at all costs, even if it comes at the expense of getting to the quarterback. That's what it feels like. But in their mind, they could be saying, oh, we're good. We're fine. So if Josh Simmons is on the board at 29, we're going to take him. And I'll be okay with that. That's what I want as a fan. I want them drafting the best player available every time they get up on the clock in the first 3 rounds, right? Day 1 and day 2, I want BPA. After that, you can start hunting needs in the 4th, in the 5th, in the 6th. You can start hunting needs at that point, if you so choose. But days 1 And 2, I want the best player available on your board. That's how you get better. That's how you get better. And by minimizing the needs, which is what they've done through free agency, it puts you in a position to be better suited to draft BPA. We scream BPA every year. Draft best player available. But a lot of y'all don't mean that. Our general manager, Adam Peters, is a guy that is big on doing what he says. And if drafting the best player available, allowing the board to speak to you, which he said multiple times, if that is going to be, in fact, the way that you conduct business, this is how you put yourself in a position to do exactly that. Allow the board to speak to you. Then you don't get caught shuffling your papers like the last group used to often find themselves doing. Right? So we'll see what they decide to do. Let's go to safety. They got Quan Martin, Jeremy Reeves, Percy Butler. They got Tyler Owens already listed. So there's not much here that needs to be done. We just got to add Will Harris in here. Those are your 5 safeties. I mean, we can move T.O. up if we want. T.O.'s probably back here, right? He's probably still back there. Honestly speaking, we can leave T.O. right where he is, because if anything, it'd be Percy who would be moving up here. Revo stays there. So, I mean, that's kind of what that feels like to me. So you can just take we just move. Oh. Didn't move what I thought I moved. Here we go. I think that's it. Yeah. All right. So there go your safeties. And you got all 5 of your safeties there. So this looks like the defense right now. I'm going to remove Kayvon Seymour, though, because I'm not comfortable with him being our 5th corner, but I might have to be comfortable with him being our 5th corner, because that might be how we have to roll this year, right? Let's count up the defensive players that we have. See if the numbers are matching up right now. Obviously, again, subject to change, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Hard for me to envision them keeping 11. Like Sheldon Day's probably gonna be on your practice squad, right? Hard for me to envision this number being more than 10. 10 is fine, because you can go 5 and 5, you can go 6 and 4, you can get away with 10. You're gonna have to cut a corner, and linebackers usually where we cut the corners. Most teams keep 6, we usually keep 5. So you can still be fine, because it should be 5 corners, 5 safeties. That's 10, 5, 5 on the defensive line. Or 9 defensive line, 5 linebacker, 10 in the secondary, and that gets you to 24. Remember, we got 26 on offense right now, so the number here needs to be 24, right? So again, hard for me to envision this number being higher than 10, probably more so 9, but for the sake of this discussion, let's just remove Sheldon Day if we're going to count numbers. Sheldon Day feels like a practice squad guy, like he was last year. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So obviously you need another corner. If you get another corner here, could it be Dominique Hampton that is gone? Again, you could get rid of one of the tight ends. You have 4 tight ends on the roster. Colson Yankov does not have to make the football team if you want to keep this many defensive linemen. You can cut a corner somewhere else, right? So keep that in mind. Because I don't think they're touching these linebackers. I think Dominique Hampton is going to make the team this year. I don't think he's going to be on the practice squad this year. He's getting the promotion if he stays healthy and plays up to the standard that they have set for him. So this is what it feels like right now. Now, here's where things get a little interesting. And I kind of hinted at this earlier today. So let's remove all of the defensive guys. Let's do that right now. Feel like I'm a broken record because I feel like we have this discussion every single year and nothing ever gets done about this. I feel like how I felt about the running back position for the last, I don't know, 6 years when I've been asking for speed, and yet every year they give me some band-aid solution at the running back position and I'm still asking for speed, right? Last year they said, you asked me for some speed. Take this Austin Eckler and just be happy. And I'm like, I asked for some speed, bro, but all right, whatever, man, right? Every year I asked for a punt returner. Kickoffs were obsolete. Then they brought the rule last year that made kickoffs a thing again. And Eckler actually excelled at that. I owed him an apology. I've already given him a double O already, because not only was he really good for us last year, he ended up being an all-pro as a returner last season. That's how good he was. But we still don't have a special a punt returner, right? So for the sake of this discussion, Tress Way is back. You see Tyler Ott is your long snapper. They did not have Tress Way listed because he was a free agent. Well, Tress Way is back. So Tress goes to his spot where he belongs. Place kicker. For now, I think there's going to be competition. They only signed him to a 1-year league minimum, vet minimum deal. So that means there will be some sort of competition. Excuse me. We all assume. But Zane Gonzalez right now is your place kicker. Tress Way. Will double as your holder, right? So Tyler Ott is your long snapper. Let's just say Austin Eckler, we got 2 candidates. So Luke McCaffrey is going to be your backup kick returner, right? Let's just go with Luke as your backup kick returner. Okay. Feels like the right thing to do. He wasn't terrible back there last year. I'm just not a big fan of his on kickoffs, but whatever, right? He was back there. He was effective when they put him back there, and he got opportunities. So we'll just say that he, right now, is a backup option. And Eck is still your primary return man, which I'm not sure they're going to risk him back there. But if you draft an explosive back with some speed, now Eckler becomes less of a necessity offensively when you want to go to, dual backfield looks and, you want to go screen game with the back, or you want to go change of pace. Eck is not as
necessary. So now you could say, Eck, we really need you on kickoffs, bro. You make a huge difference back there. So with that said, Eck goes back to kickoff returner. And now would you look at that? The elephant in the room is back. Who in the hell is going to return punts for us? We're back to square one. Somebody said Cass. There was a damn Nate Herbig. Somebody said Cass. Here's the problem with Cass. Cass ain't making the roster. That's number one. Number two, Cass was not a good punt returner. He was not a natural punt returner. He was not a punt returner at UCLA, which is the reason why he couldn't make the roster his rookie season when they wanted him to make the roster. They put him back there on punts, remember, in the final preseason game, and he fumbled the damn ball, right? He muffed the punt. And that was the end of him making the roster, and he never made the roster, and he hasn't made the roster since. Cass is not a punt returner. So, you're stuck. Again. Now, here's the only thing I can think of that could ultimately save us is if the running back that they draft has punt returning experience. Most of the time, collegiate running backs don't punt return. That is a corner, wide receiver type of role and responsibility. Rarely do you see running backs get back there, field punts and return punts. Generally speaking, you don't want to put your running backs back there because if that's a guy you're relying on, kickoffs, punts, etc., he's going to be tired when you hit the field offensively if he had to return a kickoff or a punt. So you generally try to stay away from that. So it's going to be hard to find a dynamic back who also has punt return experience, unless you go back to like high school or something like that. So I don't think that's going to save us. So once again, we find ourselves back at square one. Who the hell is going to return punts for us? $1 million question. Last year, they had like 30 dudes, including Emmanuel Forbes, if you recall, back there fielding punts, and they had no clue what they were going to do. They knew they had OZ and Jamison Crowder in their back pocket, so they could try all of that experimental bullshit and be fine. If no one actually stepped up and separated themselves from the pack, they could always say, well, we got OZ and we got, Jamison Crowder, and that's what they ended up doing, right? We don't even have that in our back pocket right now. We don't even have that in our back pocket. There is no Jamison Crowder to the rescue, and there is no Olamide Zaccheaus. Come on down. We got nothing at punt returner right now. So I don't know what the hell they're going to do. Again, for big spots, you could throw, a Debo back there, but I'm not even sure Debo is a punt returner. Debo is a kickoff return specialist. Debo is not a punt returner. So again, I'm not sure what you do at punt returner. And it's not like we got a guy you just say, look, like Dax Milne once upon a time, hey, just field the ball and we'll be fine. I don't even know if that guy exists on the roster. I'm assuming Luke McCaffrey could probably do that. But again, Dax Milne had punt return experience in college. It wasn't great. He wasn't dynamic, but he had the experience, so you could trust him back there to field the football. I don't think Luke McCaffrey, Luke McCaffrey just started playing wide receiver 2 years ago, right? Well, 3 years now. Last year was his third year playing the receiver position. I highly doubt that when he was a quarterback, which is what he was before he transitioned to wide receiver, I highly doubt that they had him on some Joe Theismann shit, doubling as a punt returner as a quarterback. Highly doubt that. So we got nothing, is essentially what I'm telling you. We'll see what happens. See what happens. So that, my friends, is the depth chart. I really wanted to go through it, kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at. Got a lot of defensive ends, got a lot of defensive linemen, got a lot of receivers now, as you can see, 6 of them, 6 defensive ends, 5 defensive tackles. Again, not all those guys are making the roster. I do think all of those receivers, however, are making the roster as of now. Again, subject to change. KJ Osborne doesn't have to make this team, right? Michael Gallup does not have to make this team. So again, none of that is etched in stone. You can draft a receiver who can be a punt returner for you, and you kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Because again, KJ Osborne and Michael Gallup don't have to be here. So there's still time for them to fix this. Your 5th corner could also be a punt returner, right? Because I'm still not trying to hear that Kayvon Seymour is our 5th corner or Bobby Price is our 5th corner. So you could draft a corner who has punt return experience that could come in here and help you in that capacity, even though he may not be helping you on the field defensively quite yet. That's a possibility too. Same with the receiver. Same with the running back, even though that's less likely than corner or wide receiver, but same there too. So, look, Adam Peters has effectively put us in a position where we don't have to draft anything. Listen to me, and I know this is going to drive some of you nuts, right? Let me get this damn sticker off. This shit want to come off so bad. He been up here for years. He want to come off so damn bad. Let me just take him off, because he going to fall off while I'm talking. So we're in a position right now because they brought back Jeremy McNichols. They brought back Chris Rodriguez. You already had Eckler and Brian Robinson Jr. We're in a position where they don't have to do anything at running back. Technically speaking, they don't have to do a damn thing at running back. And while we would be over here we would be over here going nuts, snapping. What are they doing? Deep running back draft class, and you came away with nothing. They could do that, and it would be okay, because we don't, like, running back for us is a need, but let's define need. Running back is a strong want. It is not a need. Okay. It is a very strong want. Need right now is we don't have a 5th corner on the roster. I mean, again, I'm sorry, I'm not counting Bobby Price or Kayvon Seymour. We don't have a 5th corner on the roster. That is a need. Okay. We do not have to draft a defensive end. We have 6 of them. I just showed you. We have 6 defensive ends. We strongly suggest and want a defensive end, an edge rusher, and I think we're going to get one.
but they do not have to draft one. We have plenty of them. You may not love the options, but there are options nonetheless. Wide receiver. We do not need a wide receiver. You may want a wide receiver. You may want to upgrade the position, but we have 6 of them, as we just saw. So technically speaking, don't need it. You want it. So we're in a position where we don't have to do anything. But should the opportunity present itself in the draft, you could go just about anywhere outside of the quarterback position right now. That's a good feeling to have, where you're not boxed in, you're not pigeonholed into needing this exact position. Because again, that's how you end up with a Jamin Davis. That's how you end up with a Fedarian Mathis. That's how you end up with an Emmanuel Forbes, because you went reaching because of a need instead of drafting the best player available. Right? So I still think your 3 biggest wants/needs going into the draft, and I think we've put ourselves in a great position to knock these 3 down. Dynamic running back, a cornerback, edge rusher. 3 biggest needs. And you have just enough draft capital to make that happen, assuming that no moves are made. You got a first, you got a second, you got a fourth. You can get what you need done with those 3 picks. I think he's gonna try to move out of 29, but what feels more realistic is moving out of 61. That feels like the one where you can trade back. And instead of having a second pick, a round pick, because you're so late in the second, you end up with 2/3. That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. You end up with 2/3, and or depending on how far back you move, right? You can end up with 1/3 and an additional fourth, or a third and a fifth and a sixth, right? Or again, depending on how far back you're moving, you could pick up some capital in next year's draft. Remember, you already gave away 2 picks in next year's draft. So you could say, tell you what, I'll move back 15 spots. Instead of you giving me compensation that equals what you just gave, how about you give me a 4th round pick next year? And we'll call it even. Give me the 3rd, give me next year's 4th, and we'll keep it pushing. So anyway, that might be a solution if you don't love this year's draft class. You know, those options exist, is all I'm saying. But feels like the roster is, pretty much set. Like, when I say that, I'm assuming that, we're going to add in these draft players. And keep this in mind. It's so many running backs. One publication I saw had 32 draftable running backs this year. 32. Newsflash. 32 running backs are getting drafted. I'm going to talk about that when we get to the draft prospects 101 series and we get to draft to the running back position, which we will start with. I'll talk about that. So what I'm getting at, what I'm hinting at is, theoretically speaking, you could not draft a back, and you're probably still going to have some undrafted guys go that in a normal year where there aren't 32 draftable backs, these guys would have been selected at some point in the draft. And so, you know, I've thrown out a couple of names of guys that might not get drafted. You know, for one reason or another, may not get drafted, but have qualities and you know, skill sets that we could use. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Let's get to the comment section so we can get out of here. Sean Hawk, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy. Hawk! 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 Right. The hat looks good. Gave me goosebumps. Generally, I rock this joint on my podcast. I usually don't wear it on the, you know, Commander shows, but I was feeling a little frisky tonight. So I said I wanted to throw on my throwback shirt, and I said, well, you can't wear a throwback shirt without the hat. So voila, here we are. Damn, you like the hat so much, you said, let me become a member of the MOBB. I love it, man. Stand up. Sean Hawk, you are the newest member of the MOBB mob. You know what to do. Show Sean some love. Welcome with open arms. Show him what it's like to be a member of the MOBB. Welcome to the squad, Sean Hawk. Ha! 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 LT, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. LT writes, if you stop Saquon and Hurts still beats you, how'd you feel? Well, if that happens, it happens. You still have a really good defense. So, again, you think we're going to beat the Eagles every time we play them, LT? Is that what you're hinting at? Because I don't expect to beat the Eagles every time we play them. So there will be times where we'll lose to the Philadelphia Eagles. That's how this is going to go, right? So there will be games where we stop Saquon Barkley. The first game that we played y'all, we shut him down for 3 quarters. Unfortunately, didn't do so in the 4th quarter. And we got. But that game had nothing to do with really Saquon Barkley or Stray Jacket Hurts. That was more so your defense. They had Jaden Daniels, you know, really baffled on a short week. He was not prepared for that Vic Fangio defense. Our offensive line did not do a very good job blocking your guys. And in a game that we could have dominated if we could have scored, we couldn't score. Your defense kept your offense in the game because your special teams was also not very good that night. Your defense kept you in that game until your offense came around. Well, until Saquon Barkley came around. So, I like our chances against your Eagles if we don't turn the ball over, which we had issues with last year. We got to clean that shit up when we play off. For whatever reason, we couldn't take care of the ball when we played against the Philadelphia Eagles. It's ridiculous. Tony P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Tony P writes, hey, Lou, I think we still may look for an offensive tackle in the draft. I think Coleman goes to left guard, Wiley to right guard, and an offensive tackle from right tackle from the draft. We then get running back and best available in the draft. The only way I see us taking a tackle at 29, 2 options is if Josh Connerly is there, the tackle from Oregon, Josh Connerly Jr., which could happen. Again, there are 2 positions that generally get pushed up in the NFL draft every year when there's talent there, or even when there's a lack thereof. Quarterback usually gets pushed up if there's talent. If there's not, teams don't usually reach for quarterbacks. They usually don't reach. But tackles, no matter what, whether there is or isn't, whether there's a surplus or there isn't, teams are going to get theirs at tackle every year. We see it. Whether it's the Jake Matthews draft where like 6 tackles went in the first, not the Jake Matthews draft, but there were like 5 tackles that went in the, I think that was a 2014 draft with Jake Matthews, Greg Robinson, Taylor Lewan. It was like 5 tackles that went in the first like 12 picks that year. But even more recently, the 2020 draft with Tristan Wirfs, I think 6 tackles went in the first 12 picks. I think the 49ers had the 12th pick. They traded back 1 spot with the Bucks, who came up to 12 to get him, or it could have been traded up from 14 to 13. It was one or the other, from 13 to 12 or 14 to 13 to get Wirfs. He was the last one taken of that cluster of tackles that were supposed to be really good. That was Tristan Wirfs, your boy from Alabama that went to the Browns, who was a free agent this year, and a few others that year. I think Mekhi Becton was in that group, if I'm not mistaken, at tackle. So you get years like that where they get pushed up, and then you get years where it's not a lot. What was it, 2 years ago? Peter Skoronski was like the best offensive lineman, and I think he ended up being kicked inside by the Titans to guard. That was the best thing, but shit, you're going to take them because teams always need offensive linemen. Teams always need tackles. Even if you can't play tackle, we can always kick you inside the guard, right? So I doubt that a Josh Connerly or Simmons falls to us at 29 because teams are always looking. Simmons has a better shot of falling than Josh Connerly. You're like Armin Membo and all those guys are gone top 15. I wouldn't be shocked if Armin Membo doesn't make it out of the top 10. Somebody always needs an offensive lineman, always. So it's hard for me to envision us getting a tackle that's going to walk in and start day one. But if not for the injuries in camp, Brandon Coleman probably will start in week 1. And that's a 3rd round pick. So I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't rule it out. Would not rule it out, Tony P. Tony P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Tony P writes, also, I am absolutely convinced we still have something brewing to fill our cornerback need. Even though AP and staff are great talent evaluators, I don't think we can depend on getting lucky in the draft. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think there's anything coming at cornerback. If there is another position that we look to add a veteran at before the draft, it'd be edge rusher. We don't need any more, as you can see. We don't need any more edge rushers. But I could see them adding a guy that has a little bit more chops. But there's just nothing left at corner. If they wanted a corner, they needed to act a lot. Like the last guy that I was really intrigued by, Ahkello Witherspoon, he just signed back to the Rams on a 1-year deal. Like, I would have been fine with Ahkello Witherspoon. I mean, to your point, Tony P, Kendall Fuller still exists. Like, guys like that still are out there. But I always go back to, if they wanted Kendall Fuller, he was here last year. They could have just re-signed Kendall Fuller. Like, they didn't have to let him walk. So I'm not sure that they're interested in a Kendall Fuller. I think the only way they add another corner is via the draft. But I say that, and then Tuesday they signed some basic corner that none of us are thrilled by, and we're here talking about another guy added to the mix. But I think what we got is what we got at corner, and I think they're going to add one in the draft. And again, the guy you get in the draft doesn't necessarily have to start. Again, I've already told you, we got enough stuff to start the season with. I'm not telling you it's great stuff. I like Jonathan Jones. I don't love him. So what I'm telling you is it may not be what you love, but it's enough to get us by for now. So if you draft a corner, he may not have to play, but if you get a corner in the first or second round, if you get a fourth round corner, I'm not looking for him to play right away. You get a first or second round corner, there's a chance he could be starting week 1. There's a chance he could be starting week 4, week 5. So, we'll see. Booker, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, I don't know if I can watch No Yak Zach catch the ball and immediately crumble like he got hit by a sniper for another season. We got to add a body. First of all, y'all gonna put some respect on Zach's name. Like he had over 100 yards in that playoff game against the Eagles. It's not pretty, but he can still move a little bit. That said, I would love to add a tight end. I would love to. And I still think that if one exists in a spot that makes sense for them, they will take him. But it's got to be like, if it's going to be one of those first 3 picks, it's got to be a guy that is an absolute needle mover, and they just didn't expect that guy to be there. They're not hunting tight end. But if one falls into their lap, you damn right they'll take him, I think. And that goes for most positions. They don't, that's the thing. They've put themselves in a position where they don't have to hunt a position. But if that position should fall into their lap, you're damn right they're going to take it. And they should, right? That's the position that they put themselves in. So I'd love for them to add a athletically gifted tight end to the mix. I just don't see it happening. You want athletic tight end? Get you some Colson Yankoff. Ben Sinnott is actually an athlete. He's an athlete. So we just need to see him get more opportunities. That's what it boils down to. And hopefully in year 2, he'll be ready for that, that opportunity. And when it does present itself, he takes full advantage. TJ Ryder, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. I got TJ writes, love the Skins hat, bro. Appreciate it, man. Like I said, I dust them off every now and again. I still got them. Ain't like when we changed the name, I threw all of my Redskins stuff away. Like I never wanted the name to change, just like most of you never wanted the name to change, but it changed, right? But I still have my stuff. I still got my stuff. And again, if you watch my podcast, that's a lot of times when I'll rock a lot of my Redskin stuff. Swaggy P, but I appreciate it. Appreciate the love. Swaggy P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Swaggy P writes, I don't know if we draft Basul Tootin. He did return kicks at Virginia Tech, but not punts, though. Like I said, running backs, a lot of times, if they return anything, it's kickoffs. Rarely do you see a running back that returns punts. That's more of a wide receiver, cornerback trade, right? So it's going to be hard for us to say, oh, we got a dynamic running back who can also return punts for us, because generally they don't do the same thing. I could see possibly maybe Debo doing returns as well. Kickoffs, yeah. Kickoffs. Not. I expect them to try to use Debo up. It's just a 1-year deal. I mean, theoretically speaking, Debo could ball for us, and they could sign him to a 2-year deal next year after this year. But right now, it's a 1-year deal. And I expect them to try to use Debo up in every way imaginable, which could also include kickoffs from time to time. Quest Beats, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Quest writes, where does 24 Skins rank in your funnest seasons? Man, I think it's at the very top. I mean, 91. So again, if you're talking about me actually like as a full-blown adult, or at least a teenager where I know absolutely everything that's going on, it's got to be the 2024 season. Before then, it was 99. But I remember a lot of 91. But again, I was a tot. Like, I was a teeny tiny little tot in 91. So I was just really spreading my football wings at that point. I knew enough to be dangerous. But if you're talking about being immersed in it, eat, sleep, breathing it, this is the most fun I've had as a fan in 2024. And 99 would be second. But if you're just talking overall, 91, because we won the Super Bowl. I just remember how happy I was when we won that Super Bowl. When Kurt Couvea got that pick after halftime, you couldn't tell me nothing. I was doing laps around the house in my Hutch helmet, my ripping, Hutch starter jersey, and the little white pants with the stripe down the side that came in the kit. And I'm doing laps around the house because I knew we were going to win at that point. And even though Buffalo made like a little pseudo comeback and I got a little nervous, you couldn't tell me nothing. And I just remember being so elated winning the Super Bowl. So, winning the Super Bowl is always going to be at the top, but 2024 was different, man. I mean, we keep talking about it, but we keep talking about it for good reason. And I can also tell you this. What made 2024 that much more special is that you got your franchise quarterback. And he's doing things we've never seen a quarterback in this town do before. So that makes it even more special, knowing that the future's so bright. Future's so bright. Like, it was hard to get like super excited about 91, 99 because it was Brad Johnson. Like, the owner didn't even like him. The new owner, Daniel Snyder, didn't even like Brad Johnson. He tried to veto the trade that got him here. And he wanted Jeff George to play badly, which now looking back, you could see why, his taste in quarterback kind of matched his taste in just being an overall human and an NFL owner, right? But that's nor here nor there. 2024 is at the top of the list. Kevin the Elephant, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Kevin the Elephant. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, I'm just jealous of Sean Hawk's sound effects. Hit it, Lou. Hey, that's my guy, man. Sean Hawk back with the MOBB for now 22 months. So brief hiatus, back with the squad. So glad to have you back on board, my guy, Hawk. Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Red Wings, writes, I realized looking at the wide receiver room that nearly all of our main guys are the same age. Debo, Noah, Gallup all just turned 29. KJ in 28, KJ 28 in June, 30, Terry 30 in September. Not going anywhere with that, just interesting. Yeah, no, we don't have like a young guy outside of Luke that, you know, brings the average age of that room down, right? You would love to add some youth. I was hoping that there was a chance that we were going to add youth to that room. And it didn't have to necessarily be a rookie. Like Elijah Moore would have brought youth to the room, but he was still young enough that you're like, hey, we could build with this guy, right? And still nobody has signed Elijah Moore. I can't for the life of me figure out what the hell is wrong with him. Is he that damaged of goods that nobody wants to touch this man? He's 24 years old. Rondell Moore got a contract before Elijah Moore. Make it make sense. Anyway, I was hoping, you know, I brought up all the young guys. Josh Palmer was a guy that I was interested in, you know, that was 25 years old, or that is 25 years old. So I brought up some names of some, you know, Tutu Atwell was a guy, you know, was high on my list. He's 24. It doesn't matter. The Rams said, no, back away from my stuff. So again, you would like to add some youth, you know, but it'll happen over time. I'm not looking to rush the process. The beauty is we're not just trying to win now, we're also trying to win into the future. And there's this, you know, balancing act that is taking place between not giving out long-term contracts, bringing in a bunch of veterans, guys that have been there, done that, but also while you're doing that, adding in 3 or 4 more young guys that can become a part of this nucleus. That's what you did last year, right? You brought in a slew of veterans, you know, guys that were going to fast track us on this recalibration, but you added Jaden, Mikey, Brandon Coleman, you know, as, you know, Johnny Newton, who you think is going to be a part of this nucleus, right? Ben Sinnott, you hope. Same with Luke. But you added young guys like Frankie Louvu, young enough, right? Biotish, all those guys that you signed to those 3-year deals, young enough to be a part of this nucleus moving forward for the next 3 years or so, right? So you hope you add 3 more of those this year, right? Via the draft. Kinlaw, you hope you got it right with him on the 3-year deal and add him to the mix, right? That's what you're hoping. So we'll see if they do that this year like they did last year. But you're not wrong. You know, that wide receiver room, they're all around the same age, which that's a good age. That's a good age. Right around that 28, 29, you know, year old range. That's a good age. It's not ideal for everybody to be that age across the board, but you still have prime football when the first number starts with the 2. And in the case of a Terry, he was a late bloomer, not as much tread off those tires. His 30 is really more like a 27. So I feel really good about Terry too. Brian N., thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, hey, Lou. What's up, Brian? Is Gallup supposed to be our De'Ami Brown replacement? Where is the speed guy? No, he's not supposed to be our De'Ami Brown replacement. We don't have that guy on the roster right now. Like there is no, from a speed perspective, De'Ami Brown replacement. That guy doesn't exist. So it's back to Terry being the only guy that can stretch the football field vertically for you. That's where we are right now. But from a production standpoint, we got plenty of guys. Noah Brown had more production than De'Ami did last year. KJ Osborne can have more production than him. We already know Debo runs laps around, you know. So from a production standpoint, we got that covered. It's the speed aspect that I've brought up. We just don't have anybody right now. Red Wing 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Red Wings writes, I guess it's good we got all these guys who are seasoned vets, but still in their physical primes, but we do got to get younger there next year. Touche. And I mean, I even advocated getting younger there this year, right? Like I was hoping once you brought back KJ and Noah, you were going to leave that last spot vacant for a draftee and add him to the mix. Doesn't seem like that's happening now with the again, as I've said multiple times, let me be clear. Let me state my position again. Just because you added Michael Gallup does not mean that you're not drafting a receiver. Period. Like, doesn't mean that you're not taking a receiver in the 7th round or the 6th round or the 4th round for that matter. I do feel like there's a less likelihood that you're taking one in the 1st or 2nd round. But I wouldn't rule out the 4th round, if a receiver's there that you like. But again, if a Trey Harris is there at 61 and you don't love the corners, you don't love the edge rushers, you don't love the running backs at 61, and you can't get out of the pick, and you love Trey Harris, why not take him, right? And there's nothing stopping you from doing that. So that's the position that we're in, right? I think there's a lot of that exists. A lot of that exists. So I do agree that next year, I think next year, you probably got to get younger at multiple positions. I think you got to get younger at defensive end next year. If you don't get one this year, you have to get one next year. If you don't get a corner this year, you got to get one next year. There are certain positions where I just feel like you have to get younger. I would even add tackle to that list. If you don't draft a tackle this year, you have to get a tackle next year, right? There's a number of positions where you start to look at them and say, hey, it's cool. I see what you're trying to do right now. I get it. But next year, we got to start moving towards being ready to replace some of these guys as they age out, as they phase out. You got to be in a position. That's how you stay good. You don't wait until a problem arises. You have the solution already on hand before it even ever becomes an issue, right? Because you can see it coming. That's what the good teams do. They're already ready when a problem arises. They already have a solution. The Ravens didn't need to draft Nate Wiggins last year. They didn't have to do that. They did it anyway because they knew Brandon Stevens was going to be a free agent and they weren't going to re-sign him. So they took Nate Wiggins last year. They didn't start Nate Wiggins at the beginning of the season. As the season wore on, they got him more and more snaps, got him more and more comfortable. And by the end of the season, he was starting. Now Brandon Phillips can kick rocks. Or Stevens, excuse me. Kick rocks. We got Nate Wiggins. That's how the Ravens feel, right? Like, that's how you want to set it up. Put yourself in a position to make that seamless transition. Jeep Commander, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Jeep Commander, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, what is your feeling on Donovan Edwards at running back in the late rounds? I think he might be there in the 6th, and I think he would be a steal in the late rounds. I think he could go undrafted. And that was one of the guys I had in mind when I said what I said earlier about there will be running backs that in normal drafts would get drafted. In this year's draft, they may not get drafted. Donovan Edwards is one of those guys. There will be at least 4 or 5 backs that we're going to go, whoa, he didn't get drafted? Damn, that's crazy. There'll be at least 4 or 5 of them. He could be one of them. And so, like I said, you could not draft a running back. The entire fan base is ready to put together a mutiny, right? And then you get somebody like that as an undrafted guy. when it's all said and done. Not saying that, again, he goes undrafted for a reason. But again, he be what we wanted was a guy with some explosiveness and some speed. So, yes, I was a big fan of Donovan Edwards when they won the Natty last year, and I wanted him to come out, and he stayed, and it didn't go well for him. That man was on the cover of the NCAA football game. That's how dynamic he was in that national championship game versus UW, versus Washington. This didn't work out for him this past year. So, Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Red Wings, writes, draft wide receivers Jalen Lane, Torrey Horton, excuse me, Chamir DK, LeJontay Wester, Ja'Cory Brooks, and cornerback Elijah Huzzy can all return punts and play their positions. Like I said, it's going to come from one of those two positions, more likely than not. Generally, the punt returning position as a whole is usually handled by one of two positions, as I mentioned, corners and receivers. Rarely do you see that handled by any other position. So we could use one of each. The question is, are they going to see the same thing that we see? And are they going to try to kill two birds with one stone? I don't want a guy's ability to return punts being the driving force for them getting drafted by us. If you don't love them as a corner or as a receiver, especially if it's a corner, like if you don't love them as a corner, I don't want you doing it. Receiver, I'm more inclined to be like, yo, if you draft him, like last year, I wanted Darius Davis out of TCU. I really could care less about Darius Davis, the wide receiver. I strictly wanted Darius Davis, the special teams return man. And he was dynamic for the Chargers last year. And he can also catch. I realized that as the season went, oh, shit, he's actually not that bad at receiver. I wasn't worried about Darius Davis, the receiver. I cared about Darius Davis, the return man at TCU. Corner, it's a little bit like, hey, can you actually play corner, bro? Because if not really sure I'm cool with just a special teams corner. You know what I'm saying? A return man corner. Receiver, we got so many of those. I ain't really tripping if we got to, invest this roster spot to a dude who, like we did with DeAndre Carter, right? He ended up being huge for us in that 2021 season. When we had all those injuries at receiver, he stepped up. And just like we turned on, it's the damn running back name from golly, why I can't think of his damn name. Jeremy McNichols. Just like we turned on Jeremy McNichols in the NFC Championship game when he fumbled. A lot of Commanders fans turned on. I think then we were the Washington football team. A lot of Washington football team fans turned on DeAndre Carter when he dropped that pass against the Cowboys. Shit flipped on him quick. But I love Jalen Lane of the group of receivers that you mentioned. I'm not familiar with Elijah Huzzel. So Elijah better be able to play some corner, like really play corner. Red Wings 01. Thank you for being a member for 29 months. KJ returned kicks and punts in college for what it's worth. Well, that might be your saving grace. He could be our new Dax Milne. He ain't going no damn where. He ain't breaking nothing off, but at least he'll field it and he won't hurt us. If that's the best you got, and maybe that's why they're bringing KJ back. And maybe that's a little known fact that most of us who weren't really keen on what KJ Osborne was doing back at the University of Miami, because if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to go back to my draft, put my draft hat on. I think he was at the University of Buffalo first, and then he transferred over to Miami for his last year. So I don't know if he was doing that at Buffalo or if he did it for the U. Probably more like Buffalo is my guess. If I'm not mixing up my guys, because his draft class was a while back, but I think I recall that's what happened with him. So if he returned punts, okay. I don't think he's going to be dynamic at it, but it beats nothing. Right now, we got nothing. Okay. At least you had a guy you could fall back on last year, or two, rather, with Jamison Crowder and OZ. Even though you probably weren't going to get shit out of them either, at least you knew you had something to fall back on. We have nothing. So if you're telling me we got somebody to fall back on, if he can do that, then that's a start. At least you got something. Joe Rockhead, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Joe Rockhead writes, what's up, Lou? What's up, Joe? I think every year will be similar. New slew of 1 to 2 year guys and as some age out or beat out, as long as JD5 is the nucleus. Yeah, I think right now, so this is what I think the plan is. What I literally just said, I think is the plan. Every year, you strengthen and widen the nucleus, right? By adding a new crop of draftees, a 2 or 3 new free agents that you feel like have 3-4 good prime years in them. You give them 3-year deals, right? We did it last year with Frankie, Tyler Biotish, Dorrance Armstrong. Those were the guys that you added to the nucleus from the free agency class last year, right? Then you had the draft, and that was a foundational draft with Jaden and Johnny and Mikey and Ben's, and you're hoping Ben and you're hoping Luke come around, but obviously Brandon Coleman, like that's a foundational draft, right? You added all those young nucleus players, right? Guys that you expect to be a part of what we're doing moving forward. Jordan McGee, I do not discount Jordan McGee, and even to a lesser degree, but I think there's a chance. Dominique Hampton, right? Like these are guys that you foresee being a part. Javante Baptiste, right? Javante John Baptiste could potentially be in that mix as well. I hesitate to put him in there as a 7th rounder, but you never know, right? So all those guys, part of the nucleus. You added all of those guys last year. This year, you added, Javon Kinlaw. You hope that he works out. I'm not as, sold on Kinlaw yet, but clearly they saw something in him. They feel confident in him to give him a 3-year deal. So I'm riding, right? So you're hoping that Kinlaw is one of those guys. Then you hope to get 3 or 4 more guys out of this year's draft to add to that mix. And so in doing that, if you do that for 3-4 years, you look up now, not to mention you still got the Terrys, you still got the Sam Cosmes, the guys that were already here that you trust, that you feel like are nucleus players, guys that are gonna continue to bridge the gap between the young guys and the veterans that they're bringing in, the guys that hold this thing together. So you're still gonna have some of those guys on the roster as well. So the Deron Paynes, if he's around for much longer, et cetera, et cetera. So you keep doing that, and next thing you know, you look up, you got 28 nucleus guys, right? You got 34 nucleus guys. You keep doing that, right? You keep adding. You added probably 8-9 guys last year between the free agents, the 3-4 free agents that you signed in 3-year deals, and then the 5-6 dudes in the draft. So you added from about 8 to 9, 10 guys, nucleus guys last year. You do that again this year, and it's probably gonna be a lot less because you don't have the draft capital, and you only signed one guy to a 3-year deal. Last year you signed like 3 or 4, but you keep adding 5, to 10 guys that are nucleus players who are here in addition to the guys who are already here. You start to feel really good about what you've assembled, and those 1 to 2 year deal guys, they become less and less frequent as you add more and more of those young nucleus guys, right? If that makes sense. I don't think this is going to be an every year thing. I think it's going to be a every year thing until they get to a comfortable number. And also while you have Jaden on this rookie contract too. So I think that might be a thing as well. So once Jaden gets paid, I think at that point, now you know what you're dealing with. Now you know how much of the cap he's eaten up, and now you can work around that. But as of right now, you don't want to tie yourself to any contracts that you can't get out of. You don't want to put yourself in a bad financial spot, because if he is the real deal, you want to be able to pay him after year 3. And the sooner you get out ahead of that contract, financially, the better it is for you, because it's going to be a lot of money when it gets paid, whenever that time comes. But as we've seen with Dallas, it doesn't pay to wait. So, we'll see what happens. Red Wings 01, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Red Wings writes, he did it at both. He was actually pretty good at it. Averaged 16 yards per punt and 20 yards per kick at Miami. Big part of his draft profile. So there you have it. That might be the reason why they kept him here. Now they have a punt returner. So you might have solved the riddle for us. Good job, Detective Red Wings. So you did confirm that he went to Buffalo. So I was right about that. So the old brain still works. Well, there you have it then. I can stop ranting and raving about us not having a punt returner. And now keeping KJ Osborne has value and makes more sense than it did just 12 hours ago. Hell, just 30 minutes ago, it makes more sense. Not that I had an issue with it, but there were a lot of people out there that couldn't understand and wrap their brain around why KJ Osborne was here. Now there's a valid reason. If you didn't think he needed to be here, there's a valid reason. He's the only guy on the roster that can return punts. Now, the other question I have is, what happens if something happens to KJ Osborne? We don't want to go down that road, but what happens if something happens? If you're relying, because again, last year you had OZ and you had Jamison Crowder. So you had 2 guys that could do it. So when Jamison Crowder went down early in the season, Olamide Zaccheaus was returning punts anyway. But when Olamide had that Steelers game, a lot of people lost confidence in him. They put Crowder back there. So again, they had a backup plan. Is there a backup plan if something were to go awry with KJ Osborne? I'm just glad that we might actually have like one thing at a time, right? Yes, I get it. Just be thankful you got a guy. I am. Thank you for that, Red Wings. Really appreciate that. Red Boy, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Red Boy writes, if tight end Loveland is there at 29, I say pull the trigger. I would in a heartbeat. I would in a heartbeat. And I think there's a chance he could be there. Because I think there's a chance that Tyler Warren falls, because Warren's going to be the first tight end taken. And the only thing that scares me is that Jacksonville moved on from Evan Ingram, and they may have a need at tight end. And they strike me as a team that would try to get Trevor Lawrence another weapon. So I wouldn't be shocked if they took a tight end. If Warren gets past or Loveland get past Jacksonville, I think they could fall. Like Indianapolis feels like a destination for a tight end because whomever's right now, they got so many weapons in Indy. It's not even funny, but they don't have a tight end. You add a tight end to that mix of weapons that they have, and it's a damn good group. And I think that's the missing piece. So I think they're going to take a tight end. After that, I thought it would be the Chargers, and it still could be. But I also thought it was going to be the Broncos, but they got Evan Ingram now. So Broncos are off that list, but I still think the Chargers need a tight end. So if Loveland is at 29, again, that could unlock this offense. I'd take him. I'd take him in a heartbeat. But again, this is why you got BPA. You put yourself in a position that you can do whatever you like. And again, you want more options because the more options that exist at 29, the more opportunity there may be for you to trade back and pick up more draft capital. So the more high-level talent guys are there, the more likely it is you can try to get out of 29. So you should be rooting for as many guys that have that kind of ability to be there. And yes, this could be a repeat of 2022 all over again, where, Kyle Hamilton was sitting there for us to take, and so was Olave. And instead of taking either one of those guys, we traded back, and both of those guys were gone by the time we were on the clock the next time. And look, they knew what they were passing up on when they took Jahan Dotson, but they wanted more picks. That was what they valued more than any of those players at that time. And if I'm not mistaken, in that mix too, because I think he always brought it up, was Trent McDuffie was also in that mix, in that conglomerate of picks that we passed up on to move back and then take Jahan Dotson. We loved it at the time. Not everybody, but a lot of us were cool with it because we expected it. But, hindsight is 2020. Clearly, that wasn't the right move now. But could it be another one of those scenarios where you trade back, you pass up on some talented players for more picks? Sometimes quality is better than quantity. Sometimes quality is better than quantity. If there's a player there, why trade when you can just take that guy? The goal is to get as many blue chip players as possible. Why trade out for 2 reds if you can get a blue? That's, again, these are the things you got to be thinking about. I'm right there with you, Red Boy. If Loveland's there, he should be one that you strongly consider at 29. 386 Skater Boy. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. 386 Skater Boy writes, I got 5 on it. We got 5 on it, man. Damn, that feels good to say. Whew. Can't wait to see that young man in year 2. Ready to give the league hell. And we putting some shit around him. It's going to be fun to see. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this installment of the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys next week. I don't think you're going to see me tomorrow. Again, subject to change. If something happens, I may show up on your screen randomly, but the likelihood is you won't see me the rest of the weekend. And then we'll be back on Monday. Hit the ground running. And I promise you, I'm starting the draft prospects series next month. I mean, shit, we're almost out of March and into April, man. I got to get on my horse, on my giddy up, and I got to start galloping, man. So next week, we're going to start dropping those videos, and we're going to be dropping them fast and furious so we can really get into some heavy draft discussions. And because before you know it, mock drafts and all that shit will be due, right? The bill is due soon, all right? So I promise y'all, I'm getting my life together. But just been so enamored with free agency because we're a good team. The draft, for me, and mentally, the draft is for loser teams. Loser teams are talking about the draft in December. Like, it's a different mindset, right? When you're a winner, the draft comes after the season's done, right? But I'm always stuck on free agency first. So we're going to get to the draft tomorrow or next week, excuse me. So anyway, I digress. You guys get out of here. CJ Shoots photo. Been a member for 42 months. Salute. Who writes, feels good, feels good. Wearing that Skins cap tonight. Like I said, I rock it from time to time. A lot of times when I wear anything Skins related, it's on my podcast. Like I'll throw it back on the podcast quick, fast, and in a hurry. Try to keep it more current on the Commander shows, but I was feeling frisky. I wanted to rock. It was more about the shirt, right? If you could see the trying to move my hand out the way. The old Skinhead logo up here. Here it is. Damn, I'm doing all this shit. You know, when we wear the leather helmets, when the throwback joints, I felt like wearing this shirt today. So I was like, well, if I'm gonna wear the shirt, I gotta wear the hat. So there you have it. That's the origin of why I wore it tonight. But yeah, look, we all still got our Redskin stuff. You know what I'm saying? We all still got it. We didn't throw it in the garbage once they changed the name. So, I mean, we all still got our Redskin stuff. I can't speak for y'all. I still got my Redskin stuff. So, anyway, I digress. Y'all enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the college basketball. Man, what a dud today was. Wow, 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 wow. One close game. Like, I don't count McNeese State and Clemson as close because they were getting their ass whooped that entire game. Now they felt the pressure of Clemson coming back, and they started to you know, they really start their butthole clenched up. They started to get tight. Luckily enough, they were up by enough, but really the only good game to me of the day was Kansas and Arkansas. Everything else was pretty much like double digits for the vast majority of the game. So no real upsets. You got a Drake beat you got a 11 beating a 6. Drake beating Missouri, and you got a 5 beating a 12. McNeese State beating Clemson, but 5-12, you know, that's 12's beating a 5 every year, it feels like. But no real fireworks in day 1 of the tournament. So hopefully day 2. Long as my team ain't involved in the shit, I'm all about it, right? Keep me away from any, you know, dramatics, any close games, none of that shit. Keep me away from it. But I hope we see some, you know, but we ain't had no buzzer. Nobody was even in a position to have a buzzer beater. There was not even one game with a team having the basketball with a chance to win the game. Tie it or none of that shit. That's how lame day 1 was. I can't think of a year where we had that I'm lying like shit. I think it was a year like 3-4 years ago where I said the same exact thing. So, but we've been spoiled. We've had a lot of, years where it's like 2 or 3 of them in day one and another 1 or 2 the next day. I need Friday to make up for lost time in day one. Anyway, I digress. At least somebody with the name Drake got a win in the last, 6 months, right? Good for them. Miggy, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Miggy writes, sup, Lou? Sup, Miggy? Who's the running back that best fits Jaden in the offense from this draft? It's a lot of them, man. I mean, there's a lot of guys that, but if you want one name in particular that fits what we need to a T, it's TreVeyon Henderson. It's TreVeyon Henderson. He's exactly what we need. The exact perfect fit. Like hand in glove, like puzzle piece. If you said this offense is 2 puzzle pieces away from being perfect, one at the tight end position, which we know is not true because the offensive line, you still need another tackle if it ain't Brandon Coleman. You still need a tight end if it ain't Zach Ertz or Ben Sinnott, and you still need that dynamic running back. But you could get one of those perfect pieces if you got a TreVeyon Henderson. He protects in the pass game. He can catch it out of the backfield, and he's a home run waiting to happen. He's the one. He is the perfect fit. He would complement a Brian Robinson or any other back that you wanted to draft in the future, right? Wow. But even if it was Chris Rodriguez in there, he'd complement him beautifully. You put him next to Jaden back there. Jaden puts it in his belly, pulls it out, right? Now you got to pick, who do I stop? And you're going to take the quarterback because you don't want Jaden pulling it out and running with it. But if you crash down and Jaden has the rock, you're in trouble. If you say, I'm going to stay at home, and he gives it to TreVeyon Henderson and he hits the whole running, shit, you're in trouble. He's the one. He's the one, Miggy. C-Trail, thank you for being a member for 16 months. Who writes, do you think all the 4-4 running backs will be gone before 29? No. There's so many running backs that run 4-4 or better in the draft this year that no, there'll be plenty of them. The real question is, will they still be there in the 4th round? Will there be any left in the 4th round? Because, I mean, any good ones. I mean, we just talked about Donovan Edwards. He's a 4-4 guy. Let me just give you the number of guys that were at the combine. And even if you weren't at the combine, doesn't mean you're not a draftable back and you're not good. But let me just give you how many running backs. And so you'll know there's no chance that they'll all be gone by 29. Probably won't be all gone by 61, right? TreVeyon Henderson. I'm starting. Let me start. Jaden Blue out of Texas ran a 4.38. That's 1. Donovan Edwards, we just talked about him, ran a 4.44. That's 2. Travis Etienne out of Georgia ran a 4.42. That's 3. DJ Gideons, who's starting to pick up steam out of K-State, ran a 4.43. That's 4. Amarian Hampton from North Carolina ran a 4.46. That's 5. RJ Harvey, who a lot of people love, out of UCF, ran a 4.4 flat, excuse me. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 backs already. All right, TreVeyon Henderson ran a 4.43. That's another one. Jarquez Hunter out of Auburn ran a 4.44. The Moses Malone 4.44. Montrell Johnson Jr. out of Florida ran a 4.41. Quinshawn Judkins ran a 4.48. Let's see. Raheem Sanders out of South Carolina ran a 4.46. Rashard Smith out of SMU, another guy that I think is a fan favorite of Commanders fans, ran a 4.39 out of SMU. And then Basul Tootin ran a 4.32, as we know. And then Marcus Yams out of Delaware ran a 4.45. So I just gave you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 running backs that ran sub 4.5. There'll be plenty of them available in the draft, bro. No worries. C-Trail. Assuming you're talking about 4.4 speed. I'm assuming. Anyway, I digress. You guys get out of here. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the college basketball. And we will reconvene on the other side of the weekend. And we'll get to the matters of the draft. Right? Until then, you guys have a good one. Take care. See you next time. God bless. And good night. Got one more from Tony P. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Tony P writes, "Hey Lou, I love Trevor Etienne for us. I like Trevor. I don't love him. I like him. I don't love him. But anybody with speed, which he has, I think will be a great compliment. You know, but again, as I always say, there's levels to this shit. There's levels to this shit. So we'll see. We'll see. All right, now I'm gone.